Welcome, ZASLOW Show 2.0. It is a Tuesday, the 14th of March. Good to have you aboard. Of course, we are a Blue Wire podcast. However you're listening to us, we, of course, appreciate that. Make sure you like, you rate, you comment, you do all that good stuff. We're feeling good today. The Heat had a thrilling victory last night. What were they, like 13 lead changes, something like that? In the fourth quarter alone, the Heat get back in the win column on the... Well, I shouldn't say that because 2 games ago, the last time they were at home was against Cleveland. They did win that game. Obviously, your boy, the Zaslow family, was there. But 3-3 in that 6-game homestand. Then they go to Orlando on Saturday night. They lose to the stupid Magic. But last night, they pick up a victory. They're trying to keep away from that number 8 spot. I don't think they're able to catch number 6, which right now is New York. Number 5 right there is Brooklyn 2. I think it's more about holding off number 8 Atlanta and getting that home play in game, which I think could be a lot of fun. So we're going to talk plenty about the Heat here this morning. Got to tell you, everything ZASLOW Show 2.0 is presented by our friends, and they're going to be your friends too if you're dealing with a personal injury. Anidjar and Levine, accident attorneys. If you've been involved in an accident, if you're dealing with a personal injury, 800-747-FREE. That's 800-747-3733. First, you got to call 911. You got to make sure that everybody's okay. After that, you get an attorney on the phone immediately when you call Anidjar and Levine. Mark Anidjar, Glenn Levine, Ellie Anidjar, they've supported and believed in ZASLOW Show 2.0 from before the first episode even debuted. So I got to tell you, if I trust them, I'm going to send you to them. If you're dealing with an injury, they're going to take care of you. 800-747-FREE, Anidjar and Levine, accident attorneys, 800-747-3733. The Dolphins, of course, yesterday also. The Dolphins, it seemed like a bit of a slow first day of free agency in the NFL. Although it's like the legal tampering period. Like my son had to say, because they're allowed to legally tamper now? What does that mean? I was like, well, it's kind of like what the NBA does, where you have this moratorium, right? Where deals don't become official until Wednesday afternoon, but you could start talking to dudes on Monday. It was yesterday at noon. So you got like 2 full days. What's the purpose of that? You know, everyone, you see the parameters of deals out there. You see these guys have signed this. Well, they haven't actually signed the deals. They've agreed to the deals. But the point is, this way it gives teams the opportunity. You don't have to, the idea behind it, even though likely no one follows it, and likely they've been talking to these players before the legal tamper period even opens up yesterday afternoon. The point is, you can talk to a player, and then you don't have to worry about him having already signed with someone else. This way, he's got 48 hours, essentially, to mull over several offers. And then things can become official. So, for instance, yesterday, the Dolphins signed inside linebacker David Long for the Tennessee Titans. I'm not going to sit here and break down the PFF grades as if I know all of his statistics, but I will tell you what I've read. People think this is a very good signing. A little bit of an injury history there. We've seen Chris Greer do this, where there's a risk-reward kind of deal. And you can get a guy who has a little bit of an injury history, like this David Long, you can get him at the price that you want. There's a risk, but they think that the reward is greater than the risk. But the point here is the Dolphins have agreed to terms with David Long. He could turn around and say, yeah, I've changed my mind. Team B over here is offering me more money. Now, that's obviously frowned upon because that's bad business. That's not dealing in good faith. But he's totally allowed to do that. That's the point of this 2-day legal tampering negotiating window. So anyway, that's what's going on. That's how I have to explain it to my son. So the Dolphins get an inside linebacker yesterday. I think you'd like to see them bring back Jerome Baker. He's a guy who's healthy. You can count on him. Solid linebacker, Jerome Baker. Obviously, you got Bradley Chubb there as well. So are you looking for one more linebacker? Or are you going to bring back Elandon Roberts? I don't know. I already told you what I think as far as the running back situation goes. I don't think any running backs were picked up or moved yesterday, although I did see Austin Eckler has requested to talk to other teams about a trade because contract negotiations with the Chargers are obviously not going the way that he thought they would. We'll see if they grant him that request. I don't know. but no running backs were moving around yesterday. I would bring back Wilson and Mostert. I like that combination. Look, you don't have to have all pro guys at every position, all right? And the fact of the matter is, I think we all know if the offensive line is good, those two running backs in particular, if the offensive line is good, those two running backs are more than capable, more than good enough to be your top two guys. So I'd like to see both of those guys back. The Dolphins have a backup quarterback, I guess, right? Mike White, who I'm pretty sure the Jets liked. Mike White, who's a local kid, he signs with the Dolphins 2 years, potentially $16 million, though I think only 8 of it over the 2 years would be guaranteed. Actually, like 4.25 is guaranteed, but it's essentially a 2-year, $8 million deal, which has another potential $8 million in incentives. That seems like a great contract for what I think is a capable backup quarterback. The Dolphins haven't had very good backup quarterback play the last couple years. 2 seasons ago, Jacoby Brissett was terrible, didn't win a single game. Last year, Teddy Bridgewater was not good either. And Skylar Thompson, I know everyone fawns over Skylar Thompson. I know Skylar Thompson, he won that last game of the season, 11-6 against the Jets. And then Skylar Thompson, look, he battled out there. They put up a fight against Buffalo, but Skylar Thompson stunk that playoff game. It was the defense scoring. It was the defense putting the offense in position, and they were kicking nothing but field goals. Skylar Thompson stunk in that playoff game. Skylar Thompson was not good anytime we saw him in the regular season, to me. And yes, he's a rookie, and he's a rookie, a 7th-round pick rookie, right? So that's going to take time to develop, I suppose. But what I saw from Skylar Thompson, that was not an NFL quarterback. So I like the Mike White signing. I think he's a competent backup quarterback. I think the Dolphins did a nice job there yesterday. But like I said, not a ton of movement out there. And obviously, we're all still waiting on the 2 quarterbacks, Aaron Rodgers, Lamar Jackson. We'll circle back to that in a moment here. Let's talk about what's on everybody's mind right now. And that, of course, is your favorite little basketball team, the Miami Heat. So the Heat last night get a game they had to have, 119-115. Let's relive it a little bit. You had a bunch of lead changes there in the fourth quarter. This was a game the Heat were up double figures. The Jazz come back. The Jazz are now ahead most of the game. And then we got back and forth in the fourth quarter. The Heat find themselves, though, down by 1. I think it was 115, 114. Yeah, I think it was 115, 114. The Heat find themselves down by 1 with a minute to go. Shot clock winding down.
4 on the shot clock. Hero for 3. Kaboom! That tells you everything you need to know about Tyler Hero, doesn't it? He was 1 for 9 from...
Yes, Tyler Hero, that's your boy right there. Tyler Hero at 18. You heard Eric Reed there, although he got cut off. He was 1 of 9 from 3 at that point, Tyler Hero. The point Eric's making there. Tyler Hero doesn't care how many he's made or missed. He still wants to take the big shots. 2 for 10 after that one right there. So the Heat go ahead. Yeah, and now, so it's a 2-point game, 117-115. We're under 30 to play now. The Jazz have a chance to either tie or take the lead.
2-point Heat lead, Jazz ball, clock winding down, 12 seconds to play. Ubaji drives all the way in and missed it. Bam got a piece of it. Bam Adebayo with the defensive play of the night. A potentially game-saving play by Bam Adebayo.
Tremendous defensive play by Bam, because if he commits to the ball handler, that's an easy lob for a dunk. If he commits to the guy who's wide open under the basket, that's an easy layup for the tie as well. But he totally played the middle there. He went straight up, held his ground, gets like a fingernail on the basketball to jar it loose away from what would have been a potential tying layup, or maybe that was a pass. You can't even really tell. Perfect defense from Bam there. 2 free throws later, 119-115. That's your final. Bam had 16 points and 9 rebounds. How about Gabe Vincent? Gabe Vincent with 18 last night. And look, we've seen that. Like, Gabe Vincent, Sometimes he'll give you 18. Sometimes he gives you 2. He's a role player. Like, that's what happens. Now, I do have to tell you, I got to be fair. I hate Kyle Lowry. Can't stand him. Want him off this team as soon as possible, which clearly, has to be next year. But I got to be fair. Kyle Lowry was very good last night. Fourth quarter. Now, Lowry does nothing for most of the game, which is, par for the course. But fourth quarter last night, couple huge threes, controlling the half court, controlling the basketball, had a couple big assists, especially finding Oladipo wide open under the basket for a layup there in the fourth quarter. I got to be fair. Kyle Lowry was very good last night. All right? You can't accuse me. Hey, ZASLOW, you're super biased because you hate Kyle Lowry. I do hate Kyle Lowry, but I could be fair. Lowry last night, he played 19 minutes off the bench, which is so much closer to what I prefer than the 36 minutes he played Saturday night in Orlando. He's a bench player. He should be playing around 15 minutes a game, and maybe he can give you what he gave you there last night, where he's got a little bit of a burst because he's not playing as much. I thought Lowry was very good last night. 9 points, 4 assists. He had a couple big threes, both 2 for 4 from 3. Both of those came in the fourth quarter. That's the role he should be playing. Off the bench, helping the team in the fourth quarter. He doesn't even have to play the finish of the game because he didn't. Gabe Vincent was in at the finish, I believe. Lowry was not. So I like what the coach did there. Also, how about this? It's not a good thing that Cody Zeller broke his nose. But it's a good thing that it opens the door for Omer Yurtseven. Yurtseven scored his first basket of the season last night. He had 2 points and 4 rebounds in 11 minutes off the bench, which, is essentially all he's going to get because he's Bam's backup. He's the backup center. Yurtseven is so big out there, and he's got that hook shot in the paint where it's tough to stop. I love seeing Yurtseven out there. I want to see more of him. I don't like that Zeller broke his nose, but this is a good thing that is coming out of it, is now the coach has to play Yurtseven. Caleb Martin does his thing off the bench, double figures. He's been great since moving to the bench. He was really good as a starter, too. He's been great off the bench. And Oladipo, look, very similar to Gabe Vincent. Oladipo will have nights like last night where he gives you 11 points, hits a few threes. Although every time Oladipo shoots, I never think it's going in. I'm a fan. But every time his shot selection is super sus. Everybody knows that. Every time he shoots, I do not think it's going in. But he's kind of like Gabe Vincent in that area where some nights he'll play well and give you 11 off the bench. And other nights, he's 0 for 5 from 3. That's what he is at this point. So and all 5 starters, by the way, in double figures. Kevin Love had a couple early threes in that game. He had 11 points. So there you have it. The Heat, they get a game that they had to have. 119-115. I'm going to give you some of Jimmy Butler here after the game. He was asked about Kyle Lowry.
Man, he's a winner. He plays at a high level, and he'll do whatever you ask him to do, whether it be starting, coming off the bench, getting the ball where it needs to go. He made some big threes tonight, had some key passes. That's what we want from him, no matter if he's coming off the bench or a starter. He's always going to help us win.
Jimmy, there was a play around 3 minutes left. You guys were down 2, coming out of a timeout. You ended up taking that left wing 3 to kind of put you guys up. So I was just talking about you kind of and wanting you to take those shots, kind of keep the defense honest, kind of open up your lanes, I guess. Just how important are those gaps of the game where you kind of take those shots and open up for you?
He does tell me to shoot more threes. But I just feel like if I start shooting too many threes, then there's not enough, paint attacks. And I can shoot more threes. I don't want to. I want to play bully ball. I want to run in there and run into people. I like a physical game. But, every now and again, I'll take and make some threes.
Like I said, Lowry was very good last night, I thought. And I love how Jimmy plays. I'm having a conversation with my son last night, my older son, and he's super frustrated with the Heat this year. And his biggest complaint is they don't have any dynamic players. And I understand so my wife is questioning it. She's like, what is, Jimmy's not any good anymore? And he's too old? And I said, no, Jimmy's having maybe the best season of his career. Jimmy's amazing. But here's the thing. Jimmy is not a dynamic player. Jimmy does not play the type of style that my son is talking about, where you're super fast, super athletic, dunking on people's heads. That's not Jimmy's style. Jimmy likes to play the bully ball. Jimmy's not an explosive player. I love how Jimmy plays. I prefer how Jimmy plays. But my son has a point when he talks about that. Like, yeah, Jimmy's amazing, but he's not that dynamic, unstoppable kind of player. And it's not necessarily a bad thing for Jimmy. You would like the Heat to have another guy like that. Now, Bam has been that guy sometimes, although after seeing for like a month and a half, 2 months of Bam being that guy, last few weeks he's struggled at times. So, better bring that guy back out for the postseason. But Jimmy, like Jimmy last night, 24 points, 13 of 15 from the free throw line. I love that style. He loves that style too. That's why he doesn't shoot three-pointers. He wants to slow the game down and control the game like that. I love it. I love it. So here's where the Heat are as far as the standings go. You know, last night's other games that are of consequence to the Heat. Let's take a look at what else happened. I'll give you a few other things here. Games that are of consequence to the Heat. Atlanta lost. That's important as far as the Heat go. Boston lost at Houston. Terrible loss. And Milwaukee won last night in Sacramento. We got to get back to that. Big deal, not a big deal. I got something for you there because there were some things that happened in that one. But the Heat now, so they pick up a game on Atlanta because of Atlanta losing. That's huge. They're now 2 up in the loss column on the Hawks. I told you, I think that's the Heat's MO at this point, is to get number 7, stay away from number 8. At number 8, like right now, the play-in, the Heat would host Atlanta. The winner gets the 7th spot. The loser then hosts the winner of 9-10, which would be Toronto-Chicago, for the 8th playoff spot. Excuse me. So I think if you're Miami, you want you would get 2 chances to win 1 game, and you want both those chances to be at home. That's where the Heat currently sit. They're 3 back in the loss column, the Heat, of New York. They're 4 back in the loss column of Brooklyn. I don't believe they're catching either one of those teams. Both of them are playing too well at this point. So I think you're going to be locked into 7, which right now is either going to be Boston or Philly in the first round. Both teams have 22 losses, Boston and Philly. So, yeah, that's where we're at right now. It's looking like Boston or Philly for the Heat in the first round. We're probably not going to know until the very end. Boston, I think we would scare the daylights out of them. They are not playing good basketball right now. Philadelphia, I think we could beat them. So, there'll be heavy dogs either situation. I think Boston will be a lot of fun. I think we could beat Philly. That's where we're at right now.